You've done this before. Stood on the steps of the Capitol, hand raised, voice echoing across a frozen January crowd. But this time is different. This time they tried to stop you with courtrooms, indictments, 2 bullets, and 4 years of calling you everything but human. And here you are anyway. The crowd is enormous. The energy is electric. You lean into the microphone and you say the words. From this day forward, our country will flourish. The applause is deafening. Before the champagne is even flat, you've already signed the first stack of executive orders. Immigration, borders, DEA, DOJ. You're not easing into this. You're kicking the door off the hinges on day one. Aides are running, phones are ringing. The machine of government, which spent 4 years grinding against you, is now yours to drive straight into the wall or straight into history. You're betting on history. The wrecking ball, the Department of Government Efficiency. Your idea, your weapon. You hand the keys to the richest man on the planet and tell him to find the waste. He finds it. He finds it everywhere. He finds it in agencies nobody's heard of, in contracts that have been bleeding money for decades, in bureaucrats who haven't done a real day's work in years. He cuts, he fires, he shuts things down. USAID, gone. Hundreds of federal workers, gone. Entire offices deleted like old files. The resistance is immediate. Federal judges start blocking your orders faster than you can sign them. Birthright citizenship, blocked. Funding freezes, blocked. The courts are a wall and they keep building it higher. Your allies say stay the course. Your critics say you're dismantling democracy. You say you're cleaning the swamp. At the end of the day, you go back to the residence, flip on the TV and watch yourself on every channel. It's never boring being you. You'll give it that. The borderies. This was always the promise, the one that started everything. You deploy the military. ICE is unleashed. Arrests spike. Deportation flights take off in numbers that make the news every morning. Over 600,000 people removed in your first year. The administration prints the number like a trophy. Half the country calls it a mandate fulfilled. The other half calls it something darker. The images come out anyway. Agents at doorsteps before dawn. Families separated at hearings. A man dragged from a convenience store while his kids watch from the car. Courts intervene. Protests erupt in cities across the country. You call the protesters radicals. You call the judges activists. You sign more orders. The border wall funding goes up. $150 billion tucked into a bill the size of a phone book. You call it the One Big Beautiful Bill. You sign it on the 4th of July with fireworks going off behind you. Because of course you do. Liberation Day. April 2nd. You've been building to this. You stand in the Rose Garden with a poster board showing tariff rates from countries around the world. You call it Liberation Day. You announce sweeping tariffs on practically every nation on Earth. Your economists are nervous. Your trading partners are furious. The markets are paying attention. Then the markets do what markets do when they panic. $6.6 trillion wiped out in 2 days. The worst stock market crash since the COVID collapse. Your phone is blowing up with calls from CEOs, senators, foreign leaders. Bond prices drop. The dollar weakens. The word recession starts appearing on every financial channel. You go on Truth Social and tell everyone it's a great time to buy. Hours later, you announce a 90-day pause on most of the tariffs. Markets surge. People start asking questions about who knew the pause was coming before the post went up. Democrats scream insider trading. You call it perfect timing. China doesn't pause. China retaliates. Tariffs on Chinese goods climb to 145%. Chinese tariffs on American goods hit 125%. Soybean farmers in Iowa are watching their livelihoods evaporate. 1 in 3 rows they grow used to go to China. Not anymore. Farm bankruptcies tick upward. You arrange bailouts. The cycle continues. The feud. The richest man in the world helped put you here, showed up at rallies, poured money into the effort, ran your efficiency department like a chainsaw through the federal budget. But power is a room with only one throne, and eventually even your most useful ally figures that out. It starts with small disagreements, then public ones. Then he's posting things about you online. You're posting things about him, and the whole country is watching 2 of the most powerful men alive argue like teenagers on social media. He leaves his government role. You are furious, but you don't show it. You never show it. Within months, there are whispers of a reconciliation. Of course there are. You both need each other more than you need to be right. The feud gets buried. The alliance gets rebuilt. The cameras move on to the next thing. They always do. The shutdown. 43 days. The longest government shutdown in American history, and it happens on your watch. Not because you wanted it, because the system is broken and both sides know it and neither side will move first. Federal workers stop getting paid. Food assistance programs start sweating their timelines. Air traffic controllers show up anyway because the planes don't care about budget negotiations. The news covers every day like a countdown clock. 8 Senate Democrats finally break. A deal gets done. The government reopens. Nobody gets everything they wanted. You declare victory anyway. That's the job, the world stage. You always said you were the deal maker, that wars happened because weak leaders let them happen. Now it's your turn to prove it. Ukraine is still burning when you take office. You said you'd end it in 24 hours. It takes longer than that. Much longer. The negotiations are brutal and messy, and Zelensky comes to the Oval Office for a meeting that ends with both men visibly angry and the cameras rolling. It goes badly enough that the whole world watches the replay. You get criticism from everywhere. You call it tough love diplomacy. Then Gaza. 2 years of war, a hostage crisis, and a region on the edge of something worse. You push, you pressure, you negotiate. In October, a ceasefire holds. The hostages, living and dead, come home to Israel. It's imperfect, it's fragile, but it holds. And for a moment, just a moment, even your harshest critics go quiet. You call it your greatest achievement. Maybe it is. Meanwhile, you've been eyeing Greenland, not quietly, publicly, repeatedly. Denmark thinks you're joking. You are not joking. NATO allies are unsettled. You don't particularly care. You also carry out a military operation to capture Venezuela's president and bring him to the United States on drug trafficking charges. The foreign policy establishment's heads nearly spin off. You call it the Donroe Doctrine. You like the sound of that. The protests. They start in February. Millions of people in streets across the country, handmade signs chanting outside state capitals and in city centers coast to coast. They call it No King's Day. You call them radicals and troublemakers. The protest movement doesn't fade. It grows. By October, another wave hits, bigger than the first. Your attorney general calls some of the property destruction domestic terrorism. You call for law and order. The irony of the crowds chanting about kings is not lost on you. It just doesn't slow you down, the weight of it. Late at night, after the last briefing, after the last call, after the cameras are gone and the aides have cleared out, the White House is quieter than you'd expect. The building is old and it knows things. Every president who ever sat in the chair you're sitting in made decisions that killed people, saved people, changed the direction of a country that still can't agree on what direction it wants to go. You've signed more executive orders in your first year than almost anyone before you. You've crashed markets and steadied them. You've deported hundreds of thousands of people and brokered a ceasefire in the Middle East. You've broken the federal bureaucracy open and let a billionaire cut it apart. You've been cheered in arenas and burned in effigy on the same day. The historians will argue about you for 100 years. You've always known that. That's never been the thing that keeps you up at night. What keeps you up, if anything does, is simpler than that. Not whether you were right, whether it was enough, whether the country you're handing off is stronger than the one you took back. You don't know yet, nobody does. The seat is yours until it isn't. And until then, you do the only thing you've ever known how to do. You keep moving, you keep fighting, you never ever stop.